The scene unfolded with Sunny's determined push against the wagon, his muscles straining with every ounce of energy he could muster. The once powerful oxen had fallen, leaving behind only the sweat-drenched bodies of 3 exhausted slaves trying desperately to move the heavy wagon. Despite the downward slope aiding their struggle, the wagon's pace was agonizingly slow. The Mountain King, by contrast, surged forward at a terrifying speed. With a deadly swipe, the tyrant shoved Hero back, his colossal arms knocking the soldier aside. The tyrant then raised his other arms, attempting to seize the chain coiled around his neck, his monstrous claws unable to handle the delicate task. His attempt was slow, cumbersome, and awkward as the sharp claws, meant for tearing flesh, clumsily fumbled with the chain, threatening to tear his own neck open. By the time the tyrant finally got a grip, the wagon had nearly reached the precipice. The rear wheels teetered dangerously on the edge, hanging over the abyss below. Just a little more, Sunny thought desperately, sweat running down his brow. Then, in an instant, the wagon's wheels slipped, and it was hanging over the cliff. Shifty and Scholar were thrown off their feet, while the wagon hung precariously on its middle axis. The Mountain King, with its dead eyes, turned to the 3 slaves, the faintest hint of confusion in its gaze. Sunny, now the last one standing, cast one final glance at the towering creature. He slammed his shoulder into the front of the wagon, pushing with everything he had. The wagon finally tipped, rolling over the edge, with an ear-splitting screech as its underside scraped against the jagged rocks. Sunny fell to his knees, narrowly avoiding being pulled over with it. Turning his head to face the tyrant one last time, a wicked smile crept onto Sunny's face. As if in response, the Mountain King lunged toward him, but by then, it was already too late. The chain tightened, yanking the monster backward with terrifying force, dragging it into the abyss below. The tyrant fell into the dark, silent depths as if in disbelief that such a tiny human had defeated it. "Go and die, bastard," Sunny thought, his chest heaving with exhaustion. He collapsed onto the cold stone floor, his body battered, pain slowly creeping through him. The night sky above him was peaceful, but his body screamed in agony. He waited, but no victory voice echoed in his mind. Instead, the pain continued to flood in, and Sunny groaned, feeling every bruise, every slash, every wound. The cold, which had been forgotten in the heat of battle, returned in full force. As the minutes passed, Sunny's thoughts grew sluggish, and the hope of victory seemed more distant than ever. "Is this it? Did I pass the trial?" he wondered. His exhaustion was overwhelming when a dark figure appeared above him. Hero, looking as calm and composed as ever, extended a hand toward him. He was slightly dirty and scratched, but his confidence remained unshaken. "Stand up. You'll freeze to death," Hero said with calm authority. Sunny, who had already resigned himself to the torment of his first nightmare, sighed deeply. His eyes were tired, and his body was broken, but with Hero's encouragement, he slowly rose to his feet. Ignoring the soldier's outstretched hand, he stood on his own. Around them, the scene was one of pure devastation. The caravan had been wiped out. Dead bodies littered the ground, torn apart in grotesque fashion. Larvae carcasses lay discarded, and shadows cast by the flickering bonfire danced eerily across the blood-stained stones. Shifty and Scholar, weary but alive, stood beside Hero, eyeing him cautiously. Despite being shackled, they were still slaves, and Hero remained their captor. Noticing their discomfort, Hero spoke. "Come closer to the fire. We need warmth and a plan." Without waiting for a response, Hero turned, and the slaves followed hesitantly. As the 4 gathered around the fire, warming their numb bodies, Sunny sat apart from the others, not because he distrusted them more than the others, but because he simply preferred solitude. He had always been an outsider. It wasn't that he couldn't connect with others, but something always felt off, as though a crucial part of him was missing, a part that others seemed to possess naturally. This absence made his attempts at connecting fall flat, and over time, he'd grown used to being alone. He was comfortable with the role of outcast, as it made him self-reliant and kept him safe from betrayal. As a result, the idea of sharing his nightmare with strangers held no appeal. After a few minutes, Hero broke the silence. Once the sun rises, we'll gather whatever supplies we can find and head back down the mountain, he said, his tone matter-of-fact. Shifty, ever defiant, snapped back. Why go back? To be put in chains again? Hero sighed deeply, his expression a mixture of frustration and concern. We can go our separate ways once we leave the mountains. But until then, I'm responsible for your lives. Going back is our best option. The way up is too dangerous without supplies. Scholar opened his mouth to speak, then thought better of it. Shifty cursed, though his words held no real conviction. We can't go back, he muttered. To everyone's surprise, Sunny spoke up. We can't go down. Shifty, attempting to lighten the mood, scoffed and laughed, glancing at Hero. Don't listen to him. He's touched by the gods, you know? The kid's crazy. Hero, frowning, cast a glance at the two remaining slaves. The only reason you're alive is thanks to this child's bravery. Aren't you ashamed to speak ill of him? Shifty shrugged. The young soldier shook his head, his voice soft but serious. I'd like to hear his reasoning. Tell me, Sunny, why can't we go down? Suddenly, all eyes were on him. Sunny shifted uncomfortably under their gaze. Because the monster isn't dead, he said quietly.